Our next speaker is Vernon Roth, fairly well known to regular attendees of this conference, and he is speaking on consciousness integration in health and energy research. And yes, this is an unscheduled presentation. Vernon says that he's been involved with some very interesting research this past year. He's out of Westcliff, Colorado, and he's the one who produces that charged water that's got quite a reputation. So here's Vernon Roth.
Thanks a lot. Can everyone hear me okay? No? It's not on. Oh, there we go. Now, can you hear me okay? Is that better? Okay. This year has been really, really exciting, actually. I've had the opportunity to work with some really great people in the field of both energy research and health and longevity, some of which have actually died recently, so unfortunately there's a great loss there. But the information, fortunately, is still coming forward, and so we're able to continue talking about that. So there's two thrusts of the research that has happened this year. Excuse me. But the major thrust has been in the field of conscious integration with energy work. And so we're going to jump around a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit first about a gentleman by the name of Ron Jones. And anybody ever had the opportunity to work with Dr. Ron Jones? He was one of the chief advisors of science to President Reagan. Anyone at all? Okay. Ron taught us some very interesting information. When you look at the cell in a human body, there are these very interesting little fibers or something that coming off of the cell called microtubules. And they're actually formed by water and minerals in a very specific geometrical pattern. Interestingly enough, they look just like a Joe cell when you look at them on a cross-section. And at the very end of those little microtubules are three little atoms. Oxygen's one of them. Anybody want to guess what the other two are? Thank you very much. Literally, deionized water on the end of every single microtubule surrounding every single cell in your body. So what Dr. Ron Jones, Guy Oblensky, and several of the researchers have started to work with, or worked with in the past, was actually finding a way to radiate energy through deionized water and have that form a sympathetic resonation in the human body. So this is really amazing research, and speaking of which, water. This is really amazing research, but it catapulted us into some research that we never, ever thought we were going to do. So jumping around a little bit, recently I had the opportunity to work with a gentleman by the name of Guy Oblensky. Anybody remember Guy from back in the 80s? Okay, not many. He dropped out and researching privately, came up with some really fantastic information, really fantastic machinery that should be available in approximately 2 or 3 years. He's currently making he's worked with the prototype, and now he's moving into an actual condensed device. It only costs $100,000 to build, but hey, that's okay. If you can imagine for a moment a Tesla coil. Now we all have seen Tesla coils, primary, secondaries. If you can imagine a Tesla coil that has a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary, and I guess you'd call it a quadrate Tesla coil. So we've got a four-phase Tesla coil. And resonating that Tesla coil are no less than 20 signals going into this coil. And what you get is approximately 750,000 volts of electricity. But at that stage in the game, electricity takes on completely different characteristics. And it'll make more sense later, but when I say less of a shock and more of a thump, just remember that. Okay, it's less of a shock and more of a thump. This Tesla coil then resonates out through a collection sphere, resonates through deionized water, and then goes through the human body and is collected by Tesla coils that pull the energy in. So we have a pump going out, a vacuum going in, and you stand in the center of it. So as you're standing there, literally, it feels like there's 10,000 little tiny fingers just moving all over you. It actually feels like a tactile sensation. There is no, there is a shocking energy feeling, but as you're standing in the safe zone, there's a tactile physical sensation. It's not actually an electrical shock, less of a shock, more of a thump. But what's very interesting is that this energy has gone beyond just conventional electricity. It's not like playing with a Van de Graaff generator where your hair's standing on end and you're drawing little arcs off. This is like standing inside of a living lightning bolt. It is an amazing experience. This gentleman, by the way, is over 80 years old, and I'd pit him against a 60-year-old in here. By the way, he is that sharp and he's that vital because he stands his machine every single day. So what's actually happening here is that there is an energetic interaction on a conscious level, and I'll tell you a little experience. I'm in this chamber, which is no bigger than this little square that I'm standing on here right now, over in a corner, and we've been there a long time, so I'm kind of falling asleep like this. And a friend of mine is standing in front of the sphere that is radiating this energy out. Now, what's very interesting is that when you stand there, you can actually see energy patterns play across your body in the meridian lines outlined by, Chinese acupressure, all of the meridian lines for all the different parts of your body, different systems of your body. And wherever you are weak and out of balance on a system, the energy, or the machine will feed energy to that point, and it may feed it there just as a subtle flow of energy, a stronger tapping sensation on your skin, or it might just decide that you need a really good blast and send it to you really fast. So I was falling asleep, and my friend is standing in front of this machine, and he has problems with his lungs. And so the machine decided it needed a very, very powerful bolt, and it zaps just goes right to his lungs. But as I'm falling asleep over here, I'm dropping into an alpha state, and I'm seeing in my mind this beautiful wagon wheel that is now on fire with blue flame, and it's spinning around and around faster. Have you ever seen the burnouts on motorcycles when they light the tire on fire and they burn it out and it just glows with this red fire? Looked just like that, only it was blue fire. And in my dream, I'm seeing this, and it's spinning faster and faster and faster. I'm thinking, my goodness, it's going to explode. And it does, and it blows up. And at the moment in my dream that it blew up, that was the moment that it sent out the shock into my friend and zapped his lungs. And at that moment, I realized that this energy that we are working with is communicating with us on a conscious level. Now, we've felt it before, and we've talked a little bit about the different ways your mind controls the nature of reality, and the way your mind can control the nature of your health and healing and your vitality. But this was literal evidence that says that energy and thought interacts. That machine was literally communicating with me on a subconscious level, and I was seeing what was happening. So, let's jump around a little bit. Last year my family and I started working on a very interesting project that we have nicknamed the Stargate. And what it is a 30-foot tall construct. Yeah, I guess it'd fit in this room. And it's a giant octahedron. So you've got two pyramids that come together like this. And in the upper pyramid in the lower pyramid is a giant spinning stainless steel star tetrahedron, literally a Merkaba. So you've got two pyramids that come down and intersect like that, and it's all made out of stainless steel. Just like the Joe cell work, there is no magnetic materials inside of the octahedron that play energy fields too much. It plays with the magnetic fields. We don't want that. So inside the octahedron, there's literally no magnetic fields. There's no steel screws. There is no baling wire. Unfortunately, that would make things a lot simpler. Lots of zip ties, but no baling wire. There's literally nothing in there that's magnetic. So we have this giant stainless steel spinning Merkaba, star tetrahedron, And inside of that is a smaller stainless steel Merkaba. And the outer one spins at 55 RPM. The inner one spins at 104 RPM. And I'll tell you what, that was an engineering nightmare, getting them all balanced and putting them together and everything. And then surrounding all of that is a caduceus coil. So you can see kind of where we're going here. We're integrating all of these different types of technology. We talked about, for instance, I've mentioned it before in the past, the HeartMath Institute showing Drew and Willem Melchizedek's work showing that there is a tetrahedral field, or a star tetrahedral field around every single person that interacts with reality. So we're actually integrating that together. Then there's a caduceus coil, which, as we know, works on the scalar level. So this Tesla coil is then energized. Actually, it's really interesting. Every stage of the game it brings its own energetic interaction into our existence. So when these Merkabas, when these star tetrahedrons are spun up to their optimum speed, and you can actually feel them when they click into a phi harmonic ratio, there's literally an energy field that comes off, and it feels like, depending on the direction of spin, it feels like you're being kind of pushed away, or you're being drawn in. Now, how many people have seen Nassim Harriman's work on crossing the event horizon? How many people have seen that video? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, there we go. Go out and get that video. It's a 6 or 7 hour lecture presentation. He is an absolute genius. Nassim Harriman, Dr. Leonard Horowitz has mentioned him. Some of the other speakers have touched on his information briefly. Go out and get that video. It is absolutely essential to understanding the shape, power of the universe, and how shapes dictate the nature of reality. Okay? Talked about it a little bit last year, but it's 7 hours. I believe it's 6 or 7 hours long. It's great. But what we're seeing here is the interaction of literally just great big spinning geometrical patterns creating energy fields that either repel or draw in. So surrounding that is a caduceus coil, which starts to trap that energy, and all of that energy is then laterally translated to the upper section of the tetrahedron, of the octahedron, where there's a great big sphere, and the sphere, actually, we had to redesign it because the wind decided to come up and kind of crush it, but so there's now a dodecahedron around it, but the sphere is a Faraday cage made out of copper. And so there's no outside energetic electrical impulses, no EMF coming into the person that actually sits in the sphere. And inside the sphere is a 4-inch platform. And oh, by the way, all these pictures will be on our website in the next week or so. But inside of the sphere is a great big platform about yay large, which has a mandala, which we've already seen here. Actually, our very first night we saw here at the Hollow Earth presentation. The oldest mandala in existence just happens to correspond to the relationship between time and space. And that was the mandala that we were led to form into a circuit board of selenite, a very 4-inch thick layer of selenite, which is then energized with the same energy that is used to charge the water with. How many people have experienced the shocking water? Okay, there we go. Now we got some hands up. This is good. Interaction. Any questions so far?
Yeah, what was the name of that video?
Crossing the Event Horizon.
And where do you get it?
Google Crossing the Event Horizon or Nassim Harriman. And he has a facility in Hawaii they're making some groundbreaking, doing some groundbreaking research. So check that out, support their work, it's fantastic. Website is ancienttech, that's TEK.com. Okay, so in the upper sphere, we then take a Van de Graaff generator of approximately 750,000 volts and energize the upper sphere. And you're actually sitting inside of this, so it's not like you're touching it, you're actually part of the energy. You're actually part of the circuit. And so therefore, you don't actually feel anything. If somebody else came up and touched it, there's zap. but you yourself are part of it. You don't actually feel anything at all. So what does this all do? Well, what's the point? Well, we don't know. What we didn't know when we started it out, anybody see that movie, Kevin Costner, If You Build It, They Will Come, that type of thing? we were just driven to build it, I tell you. Yeah, we got some, who knows, who cares? We're just going to do it because what else are we going to do with our time? No. It's a family endeavor, and it's just we haven't been able to stop. It's been pretty nuts, pretty insane, but it's been really enjoyable and it's been a fun trip. So one day, I wake up in the morning and I'm driven to make everything work. Just driven, just had to do it right away. So I got up and dropped everything else I was supposed to do that day and just worked on that project. And it took me 18 hours, it took me 10 hours that day and 8 hours the next day, but I was able to get into the machine and sit down and about 1 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. And as soon as I sit down and the machine is going, and we've been talking about sound. There were a couple books on our shelf, on our desks that we used while we were designing this, one of which was Leonard Horowitz's book, Healing Codes for the Biblical Apocalypse. So the sound going into this machine, the entire thing is resonated to 528. So you're sitting on board on the circuit board, which is energized by the energy that energizes the water, and the whole thing is vibrating like a Chladni board, and at 528. And so you're actually resonating as well as being energized by the energy. And so I sit down on this thing and and I fall asleep. It took me about 10 seconds. That was really strange. Interestingly enough, it was exactly the same type of sleep that happened to me in Guy Oblensky's machine. I could feel it. It dropped me right to the alpha level, and that was it. And so as I'm sitting there, I fall asleep, and I'm having this strange dream. And I see myself going someplace and then leaving, and go to this university and leave. Now, how many people have had, we're talking about quantum dumps, right? We're talking about downloads. This is weird stuff, but you know what? That's okay. Because last year I said we needed to come up with a new technology, or excuse me, a new delivery system for the new technologies that are coming out, and I had no idea where that was going to take us. I had no idea the adventure and the journey that we were going to go on to discover those new technologies, but now I'm starting to get the barest glimpse of it. So I know this is radical, I know this is weird, and it doesn't make any sense yet, but it will as we continue on the journey. It will make sense in the long run. So I see myself going to Yoda's mud hut, and I leave in this dream. And I see myself going to a great big pyramid, and I leave. And I don't remember what's going on there. I don't remember what is actually happening there. But I'm in there for an hour and a half, and when the machine shuts off, I wake up, which is good that it had an automatic shut-off because they would have left me in there forever. Actually, everyone left. That's right, everyone left. And if that machine hadn't shut off, I wouldn't be here today. Anyway, so the machine shuts off, I wake up, and I get out, and I'm looking up at the sky. I think, was the sky that blue before? Were the trees that green? Did McDonald's hamburgers really taste like cardboard and sawdust? Was Taco Bell was it really the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted in my entire life? All of these things were new to me after this. I saw the world completely differently. Every interaction with every single person, everything had changed. And over the next few months, I found myself going into a situation where I was able to remember, where I was being taught in an interaction with somebody here right now. I was being taught in an interaction all the things that I had experienced in that dream. And I was led to this person and that person and this person. I was led to Guy Oblensky, and I was led to Ron Jones, who died unfortunately recently. And And all of these people, they didn't teach me what I was learning, they helped me remember. Okay, that's a very Buddhist ideology. You already know everything. You already know everything that you need to know. We just have to remember. It makes things so much simpler because we don't have to try and, go through this study process and learn and grow and all this stuff. We already know. We just have to remember. We have to accept who we are inside and let it happen, let it manifest. And Mo out there is doing it. And every single person that goes into a machine shop and builds something and makes something work and puts their lifeblood and any of their energy, they're doing it too. And any person that looks inside of themselves and say, what was I like today and how can I be a better person tomorrow? They're doing it too. All of these things are helping us understand what it's going to take to move to the next level of technology. We know where Einsteinian physics is going to take us. We know where nuclear bombs go. What we don't know is where these other places go. And that's the road we need to take. So, I became aware, now we're going to get really weird here. Really weird. I became aware of something that I started to call the hand of destiny, moving me from place to place. And you may wonder what it was that was keeping me from being aware of this before. And what was keeping me from seeing the sky so blue and the trees so green and actually being able to palate McDonald's hamburgers. And that was, the thing that was keeping me back was fear. And I became aware of the fear that is engendered in us, in our system, in our theories, in our politics, in our imperialist mentality, and our desire to conquer. We are, as a species, are afraid. How many people have read the book Power versus Force? Hawking's Power versus Force. Great. Go out and get the book, Power versus Force. Mike, what is the lowest emotional level that a person can manifest on this plane?
Apathy.
Okay. Fear, hate, apathy, all of these things are the lowest emotional level that we could ever manifest in this reality. What's neutral? Anybody remember what neutral is?
Anger.
No.
Courage.
Courage, thank you very much. In order to step out of this, we have to have the courage to move beyond that. Okay? This, by the way, is a scale of human emotions. God consciousness is what they would call 1,000. Fear, apathy, hate, anger, guilt, they're the lowest human emotions, operate at about 10. Courage is about 200. Without being above 200, we fall into chaos and disorder. Our bodies break down. We live in fear. When we're able to pull ourselves up and operate in another level of consciousness, like Mo is talking about when he says, we're not going to be afraid to do the research. We're going to move forward in trust that what we're doing is right. That is when they pull themselves above 200, and you can actually then interact with the energies that want us to succeed, the energies that want us to move forward. Okay, so I'm moving around, and I'm taken here, and a book will fall off the shelf, and I'll think, hey, I'm in a new mode. I'll buy this book. I have no idea what it's about or anything, but I buy the book. And 2 weeks later, I needed that book. That's very strange. As I began to be aware of the energy that was moving, I started seeing life as a wave. And I'm riding on top of this wave, and it was very cool. It's like, the experience was like literally, if anybody go body surfing or wakeboarding or something like that, you're literally just moving. It's like this constant state of falling down, but it's amazing. It's beautiful, it's amazing. This wave is what we're tapping into with our energy devices. Okay? We're generating a wave, and we're tapping into it. And how we tap into it, is a reflection of our consciousness. So if you look at if we look at where our consciousness is, until just recently, we were still in the Einsteinian big, powerful, explosive mode. Now we're moving into this other mode of consciousness that says we can tap into energy in other ways, and it can be beautiful and can be constructive. So after a while, I realized this wave, I'm moving through the world riding this wave, and you know what? You're riding the wave too. And our wave is interacting right now because we're here, okay? But one of those students that comes and makes a beeline through the student union building and doesn't even look at the tables or something like that, you know what, their wave is like this. It's not even interacting. I mean, a little bit of voices coming in there, and they're not paying attention. But all of your waves are weaving together right now. Then I became aware that I was not riding the wave. I was the wave. And you guys are the waves too. And we're forming a tapestry. We're forming a beautiful tapestry that is allowing us to see and understand the nature of our reality. Okay? That's what these new energy devices are about. It's about our integration with the energy, not a fighting or a destructive, forceful integration, but a harmonious integration with the energies that we're working with. All right? But once you understand that you're the wave, a lot of things started making sense. Somehow, because I was the wave that stretched into the past and into the future, and it didn't end, there was only one thing that keeps me stuck at this spot in the wave, and that was my consciousness. When I let the consciousness go, then the wave was able to say, oh, by the way, you're going to need that book later on down the line. You're going to need that tool. You're going to need that part later on down the line, and it's going to come to you. All right? Because you are the wave, and you're there, pardon me, all at once. Now, the fear, it's interesting. Fear and our experiences start to pile on. No matter how much of an ascended master you are, no matter how much you have worked to clear out fear and anger and frustration, it builds back on you. And so gradually I noticed that the perspective got locked backwards, and now it's back in one location. But at least I've seen it. I didn't know that there was a world without fear until I stepped into it. And that is my goal from now on, is to be back in that world without fear. And it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful experience. And here's the thing. Now, I haven't talked about science, but here's the deal. When you're in that mode, you are led to places and people that you would never, and to experiment with things that you would never have experimented before. So suddenly I find myself, because I'm allowing this wave to carry me, or I'm allowing my existence to stretch out into, or my awareness of my existence to stretch out into this wave, I find myself drawn to this person who has a metal, and he says, well, you use this element and this element and this element, and you get power from heat. Remember I mentioned last year differentials? Every time you have a differential, you have power. That's the basics of understanding of power. You have a differential, you have a temperature differential, you have a speed differential. Any differential, you get power. So this metal changes temperature differentials, even the temperature differential of your thumb, into power. Interestingly enough, he was led to me because I had the understanding of how to put the metals together. He tried it once in an induction furnace and it worked very well. Now he's using Brown's gas to layer the metals together, and it works incredibly well because Brown's gas is implosive and it gives it the proper mixture that it needs to operate. The induction furnace could only do it this much, now it's this much, and so this is a product that's actually going to be coming out in the next year or so. It's a metal that turns, like, imagine a high-efficiency superconductor. But it was only possible for us to meet together to give each other the pieces of information that we needed, because we'd set fear aside, we'd set aside. So this is the interaction that we have to have. How much time do I have? Okay, this is the interaction that we have to have. We have to be unafraid. We have to move beyond fear in general. Now I want to end this with a little parable. Okay. If I have $1 and you have $1, and we exchange that dollar, we both now have $1, correct? We still have $1. But here's the thing. If you have an idea, and I have an idea, and I give you my idea, and you give me your idea, Suddenly, we both have 2 ideas, which is not even actually the reality, because once I have 2 ideas, I'm going to think of more ideas down the line, and so are you. And so each of us multiplies our ideas and our understanding and our knowledge about the universe. Every time we gain a piece of information, we get the next picture. We get the next step. We just can't be afraid to take the step into it. But it doesn't work, or I'm afraid, or no. Okay, so, what if we die? What if somebody comes in and confiscates all of our work? Oh my goodness, it's happened. It's happened at these conferences. But it doesn't matter, because as long as we do it, as long as we keep on pushing, as long as we keep on growing, it's going to take us further. And we may not succeed, but somebody else will succeed. We know where that road goes. We know where the big, powerful nuclear bombs go. Let's explore that road, and that's where we need to go. That's what the Joe cell is. That's what Dr. Horowitz's work is about. That's what, the thing that we nicknamed the Stargate, the hydrogen work, all of that. Work with it. If you see something, just throw your energy into it. So that's what this past year has been like. Thank you all, and take care. Any questions? Yes.
Okay, hold on just a second. We'll get that on the tape here. Okay, who is first? Who wants to be first?
Thank you. What was the name of the fellow with the 3 or 4 machines that were Tesla-like and they were tingling and thumping?
The gentleman is named Guy Oblensky, and he's written actually several papers on that with really cool-sounding names like phase conjugate holographic water interface integration devices and stuff like that. I've read a lot, and reading his papers, I need several reference manuals sitting right next to it. So it's quite an amazing journey just reading one of his papers. They are available in certain scientific journals, but if you Google Guy Obolensky, you'll find the information.
How do you spell Oblensky?
What's that?
How do you spell it? Oblensky.
Oblensky, I believe.
Thank you.
E-L. Oblensky.
What's his first name?
Guy.
Yes. Do you have a website at all?
The website is ancienttech.com, TEK.com. And that is the main support of our research. We sell the water, we sell certain products that help to, expand consciousness, and that helps us support our research. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vernon Roth. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, the food should be here any minute now. Actually, it may already be here.